Yes.
Well, good evening, everybody. So it was Andy who originally, I think, reached out to me, and we had a little discussion on. I think the title of this is An Evening with Callum. So maybe I could tell you all about the different parties I've been to and stuff, but you're probably not that interested, apart from one actually. Um, so what I thought we'd do is, if you say to people, do you know what a DX commander is? Most people are going to go, well, kind of, yeah, it's like a vertical thing, you know. So I just thought I'd take you down the what it really is, actually how it kind of works. We'll do that slowly. Take about 10 minutes, 15 maybe. And then you're an online bunch, so you might be interested. We'll do a bit of audio, all right? And I'll screenshot something and I'll show you my digital mixing desk, and how I use that in ham radio, and how I intend to use it in the future as well. So there we are. Any mixer, actually, will do, but there's some caveats, you see. So that's what we'll do, and then we'll have a free for all. You know, we can have a chat. Or I might ask you questions. You can ask me. John can ask Chris a question. Who cares? It's a club, isn't it? It's just a nice, pleasant club night. What day is it? Is it Monday? Yeah. So it's just a nice, pleasant Monday evening that we can pass the time of day around. So, right. And I apologise in advance. Some of you might know this story. So I went to Cornwall and on holiday, and I took a boot full and a roof rack full of stuff. I looked like I was going on a full club field day weekend. You know what I mean? And in fact, I took so much equipment on this 2-week holiday down to Bude in Cornwall that Wendy and the kids, and we had a dog, Charlie, then they had to take another car, right? Because it was full. Mine was full up. To the amplifier and coax runs, I spare wire toolkits, everything, soldering irons, spare wire and everything. But when I got there, I discovered that the constant breeze coming in off the Cornwall coast would have been a little bit too much for a couple of aluminium poles and maybe a fan dipole, 40 feet or whatever. So I bailed out that idea and went down a vertical route. And 40 metres being a bit my bag, what I thought I'd do is I'd just put a 10-metre pole up, And at that time, I was actually selling DX Commander poles, but they weren't called DX Commanders, just Callum's poles, A ridiculous price, £30 or something. And I used to make like a £5 each and buy me a beer, But anyway, I put this pole up, and I didn't know anything about verticals, actually, apart from the fact that I had put a vertical up in the back garden, and I just felt it didn't work. I felt it didn't work looking back because I'm looking at it as a receive antenna, and I've got actually a different philosophy on receive these days. As a transmit antenna, you can't beat it, really, unless you've got a 60-foot tower or something. On 40 metres, it's fine. And I'm a nighttime man. So after midnight, when the sun's been down for a while, and we've got New York is in twilight, Newfoundland's already kind of dark for half an hour, and I call CQ, and I had just a basic vertical. So the construction, just in case. Now look, I know a lot of us here will know exactly what that is, but I have a pre-prepared piece of paper here with absolutely nothing on it. But so yeah, it was just a vertical element, which hopefully you can see all this. Should we spotlight me so I become giant, or am I already huge to you guys? I think we should make me a bit bigger. How do we do that, Andy or John or somebody? No idea. I don't normally run this.
If on the view, if everybody goes on to the view and then goes on to speaker view, Cal.
Well, or pin. If you go on the picture of you, Callum, and they hit that little blue square up in the top right-hand corner, it says pin.
There we are. I think I've spotlighted me for everybody. Yeah, God knows.
On full screen.
Yeah. Am I full screen for you guys now?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how to get it back, so you'll have to teach me. So, and actually, I just put 4 radials out, like this, and the coax obviously wasn't this big. So my coax went up there, and then the braid here connected with a little brass box, little ground thing, little brass connected to just 4 radials, and I got a fine tune. I mean that worked fine. It just so happens that I was fairly close to the sea. When I say close, within, literally when the tide was in, it was at the wall at the bottom of the garden. So there, because there was no road running down there, and that just, I couldn't believe how well it worked. And I had an amplifier as well, and I ran a pile up most nights from like midnight to 4, 5 o'clock. If I stayed up a little bit longer, I'd get all the ZLs and VKs as well on. That'd be long path, I think. And that's what it really excited me about verticals. However, now there is photos knocking around the internet about this, but I grafted on a 20 meter next to the 40 meter, and iPhone entered the waiting room. Someone needs to admit them. There we are. I grafted on this another, so I've got a roughly 10 meters. It's not right. It's about 9.9 or something. For the 40 meter band. For 20 meters, it is about just under 5 meters long actually. And I grafted on next to this pole another element. I didn't quite actually get a tune at that time on a 20 meter band, which delayed this whole DX Commander journey probably by about a year. But looking back on it, I think that the element was too close to 40. All right, because my problem is a lot of us have read too many books. Sometimes you read too many books and you see too many pictures, and you think that something should work because you've read a book. And I'm a great believer in just doing it. You see, because kind of I don't believe the book sometimes. You know. If it makes sense, very often it's normal, isn't it? Where were we? So yeah, so I did that. Now, I also made a 20 meter vertical. So this was 5 meters long, a separate system, and I put some other elements at the side. So that was 5 meters. I know I made a 10 meters, so that'd be about 2.5 meters long, and I grafted on a 6 as well, which we'll draw in different colour, frankly. I'll put a real red in there. 6 meters, which is about 1.5 meters long. And that worked great, which did give me the confidence that probably this, I mean, I didn't even know we were going to call it DX Commander. To me, it was my holiday antenna, you know. Now, I don't know how this, genuinely, it's forgotten. I'd have to go to the DX Commander museum to work this one out, but there's a certain point in time when I actually thought, oh, I could make some of these. I think somebody said, oh, could you make me one? They'd seen my pictures, you know. Make me one. And I made £50, something like that. Bit of aluminium, you know. And I have a box in the workshop of my museum bits. All the prototypes I made. Hilarious. It's a great talk if you're into that sort of thing. But we'll accelerate forward in a minute. So fundamentally, where we've got to now is that DX Commander, the 10 meter, let's put this piece of paper under there because it's got all join the dots on it. Look, hopefully you can still see all that all right. A DX Commander now comes with a pole. You get a 40 meter element which has a bit of a fold over at the top, which I'll come to in a minute. And then people can put like a 30 meter and a 20 and a 17, and it's in a circle. You see, they go up in like a little nest, like a nest of dipoles. Right, that's all it is. They're little verticals, and at the bottom, I think I'm going to attempt to share my screen here, but I need to minimise something before I do that. Otherwise, you'll see all my audio gear working. Share screen. I think we want that one. Hopefully you can see this now. Somebody just put their thumb up. Richard G4HHX. Can you see a little picture? Yeah, that's fine. So let's just get my keyboard. I'll just show you the bottom of one of these. So there we are. So what we have is radials on a bottom plate and then elements on the next plate up. And we've got an SO239 knocking around somewhere. Oh, you can see it on that one. Hopefully, I might be able to accelerate, make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Somewhere, somehow. It was bigger there. SO239, little flying lead. So an aluminium plate. These are hexagonal plates because this is called the Rapide. And then it created this little kit, right? So they get, you know, some shrink wrap and all sorts of stuff. It's very nice, you know. The thing is, it's all sorted and it just works. So hopefully you can see some radials at the bottom. And we're going to be discussing radials in a minute. Is there any more pictures worthwhile looking at? Ah, there we are. Very nice. And then I create these. So these are water jet, these plates here. And it keeps all the elements stable. And they're made out of something called UHMWPE, which is ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. So it'd be great to get them made out of PTFE because I think they're better in the sun, but it would add like £50 to the kit. Ridiculous amount of money. By the way, I'm not drinking gin here. Okay, this is actually gin and tonic. I get very nervous, you see, doing live stuff. I would do more live stuff, but it kind of takes it out of me. I'm all right once I'm going, you know, but there we are. Let's just talk about radials. Well, here is a piece of paper, which we're going to go through. And hopefully, well, we could always print it off again, because I think I've got it knocking around, in case I muck it up too much. I'll press this button here. So this was a really interesting... a really interesting bit of research from a fellow called Rudy Sevens. So what Rudy did, he started off with no radials at all, just the coax. And if you think about it, the braid of the coax is kind of one radial, okay? So 0 is actually 1, okay? Which is why things like Pro Whip used to kind of almost work, because you got the coax and a radial. So they gave you 2, right? And then a little transformer, or 91 unknown, or whatever it was, I don't know. But if you used to go to rallies, you'd meet the Pro Whip man, do you remember? But what Rudy did is he did some interesting experiments, and he did, and I'll mark these. I know he did 8, so I'll put a red dot. There we are. He did 8, which is there. There's a red dot. 16 radials, 32 radials, and I think he did 64. Yeah, there it is there. So let me just double check all my focus and stuff. Get that the right way around. I'm just going to play with a focus ring here just above my left shoulder. Make sure it's about as good as we can get it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So what we've got here is 0. The difference in signal improvement, it says here, as a function of the radial number lying on the ground. So it's exactly the same as... No, I didn't know this when I created it as Commander. But Rudy Sevens, he's quite a good scientist. He's done a lot of papers. All right, one of the few people I really do trust. Although I think we should replicate this. It'd be jolly good fun. So we can see from no radials up to 8 radials, there's just over a 2 dB increase in gain over no radials, which was just the one coax. Now, he measured this. If you go through, just do Rudy Sevens radials. There's a lot of papers. And how he did these is he measured it one wavelength away, 5 degrees above the horizon. Actually, he replicated my thinking, where I believe you should measure antennas at 5 degrees above the horizon, because it's a good in-betweenie for the real DX, right? Which is anywhere between about 3 and 8, 9, 10. Sporadic E, maybe a bit higher, but anyway. So he got 2 dB at 8, or 2.2 by the look of it here. Then at 16 radials, he's doubled. He's gone from 2 to 4. Well, he's not doubled. Doubled would be had he gone 3 dB, right? Well, we'll just recap on dBs in a minute. And then from 16 to 32, he went from, that says 4 dB to 5.2 dB. 32 to 64, there's less than half a dB in it. So I think the key one for me is this one here, the difference between 16 and 32. So there is, I think you would agree, if you screenshotted this and counted all this, it's about 1 dB difference. 1 dB. So let's work out what 1 dB is. Well, most of us here may remember our exam. I mean, the easy way, I mean, if anybody's watching this in the future, what is a dB? dB is very hard to quantify. And normally a dB is you're measuring against something else. It's relative to something else. Okay, so for instance, we'd normally measure, like in watts, you might have dBW. So that's decibels to how many watts? 1 watt, 100 milliwatts, normally 1 watt. Okay. So 3 dB if you increase the volume, if you like, 3 dB. What actually you've done is you've doubled it, doubled whatever it is. So if you're on 1 dBW, decibels brackets watts, and you double it, and you add 3 dB, you'll now be on 2 watts. If you double it again, add another 3 dBs, that's 6 dBs, dBW, right? Well, 6 dBs you add on, you'll go from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 4. There we are. As you can see, 1 dB it's actually quite hard to justify. So the history about dBW, it was, I can't remember which laboratory. It might be, I think it was AT&T actually, but this is, you know, in the dark ages when they would have standard cable miles, I think. So how much cable could you lay between one telephone and another before the consumer would understand, would go, oh, that's lost a bit? That's about 3 dB, okay? So not turning the volume from 10 to 5 on your hi-fi, even that might not be 3 dB. Because it's not, well, maybe it is, who knows. But anyway, when the consumer noticed that, I think that was about 3 dB, and it was a standard cable mile. And in fact, it was Bell Laboratories, and they came up with this scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, bells, right? But then they realized they needed to increase the granularity. So they made it tenths of bells, because 10 dB, which would, in the old days would be 1 bell, is 10 times the power. That's where dBs come from. So let's get back to my little graph here, because Rudy did, and I haven't printed it out. I printed this one off his one of his papers. I just found it this afternoon before. I always get an afternoon sleep, right? I'm a bit like Churchill. So at 4:30 I go up, get a 90 minutes, and then I'm ready to go again. So I get like 14 days a week. It's fantastic. Decibels, ground radius, yeah. So Rudy then did, he was just interested. So I don't actually, until Rudy did this next experiment, nobody had ever done it before. What he did, he took, let's say, and that's on a different piece of paper, by the way. Let's say he took, I think it was actually 16 radials. He took 16 radials, which is this number up here. And what he did, he cut them in half, but the same copper back into the circuit. Okay, so instead of having, and these were quarter waves, right, originally, all these are quarter waves. I apologise if I didn't tell you that at the beginning. and he made eighth waves, and he added them all back in, and it was immeasurable, well, measurable scientifically, but not your human ear. Human ear wouldn't cope with that. It was immeasurable from a using a normal radio, right? 0.2, or it was less than a dB, less than half a dB. So these 8-wave radials systems, and because we are in the UK and high density population areas, we quite often are quite restricted. So some of the big verticals that I've built in the past, I was convinced I had to go down at least a quarter of a wavelength. So if you go a quarter of a wavelength on a 40-meter vertical, that's a 20-meter in diameter. I wouldn't fit in my backyard. I mean, I could only just about fit that in my professional testing antenna field at the farm. But we don't need to do that. We can go down eighth of a wave, or even easier, as a Gerald entered the waiting room. We can go down eighth wave, and I've then hammered it even further. So I've reckoned, because I'm just doing the calculations in my head, and if you go back about 2 years, it was a September, October time, I ran 80 meters with 3.5 meter long radials, which I reckon is about 3 or 4% of the wavelength, right? So not 25%, which is a quarter of a wavelength, or 12.5%, which is an eighth of a wavelength. I'm down to 3-4% of a wavelength. But I was still crossing the Atlantic on 80, right? Quite remarkable. However, using Rudy's formula and hundreds of users' experiences, I've come up with a bit of a formula. I'm thinking on my feet here, or seat of the pants, whatever you want to call it. So let's take the 20-meter band, right? 20-meter band at 4 wavelengths is 80 meters. Now, 4 wavelengths of wire, 80 meters, you could split that down. You could either have, let's face it, that would equal either 4 20-meter long radials. That's a bit long, aren't they? We could have 8 at 10 meters long. We have 16 at 5 meters long, and in the main, that's what a lot of people would do, wouldn't it? Because there's our quarter of a wavelength, you see. 5 meters, 16, the same amount of wire, or we could do 32 at 2.5 meters long, which, if you remember from the Rudy Sevens research, was next to nothing. However, we go back to our little chart here, because Joe Soap, he doesn't want, the difference between, now let's think about this, because I might have got it wrong, 16, yeah, that's fine. So he's only, even at 32, 2.5 meters long, which is the equivalent of, move all this around, check my screen so I can see what you can see. We're only 1.2 dB away. Get another colour. That is 4 wavelengths of wire, effectively, and that's 8 wavelengths of wire. That's effectively what this boils down to. So you can then go in 180 degrees, you can go 90 degrees, you can do what the hell you want with these radios. You can cut some shorter and some longer. But in the main, what I sell in my kit is about 4 wavelengths of wire, roughly. Maybe a little bit less, depending on how many elements you put up. So how big is a DX Commando? It's actually how big you want it to be, right? And most of the time, I don't think, for portable work anyway, I've ever worked with more than about between 2.5 and 3.5 meter long. And my live stream, that was 2.5 weeks ago. I did a live stream on, I was on 40, I was on 80, it was 17. I think I tried 10. That was on 3.2 meters, and there was 24 of them. And if you do the calculations, anybody wants to do that for me, I think you'll find it's about 80 meters, which is 4 wavelengths at 20 meters. Oh, it works so well, you see. And I'm only losing 1.2 dB by going down a 40 meter band. So, kind of, that's how big a DX commander is. Now, you've seen some pictures. I don't need to show you anymore. You've got Google in front of you, I'm sure. You can just do a search, DX commander. Google knows all the images. It's fine. While I'm doing a sales pitch, I might as well just do this bit. So I do. What originally happened was I had a 10 meter pole. We'll call that 10. Right there. There's 7. Oh, this is not going to work because I've got bigger poles than that. Right. Let's use the join the dots paper. Join the dots paper. So 10 meter pole is, let's say, that big. Then I created this 7 meter thing, which we called the light. It's now called the rapide, and that goes to basically to 30 meters. Saying that, it will squeeze up to 40. Just use a little coil, just load it up on 40, and that's my live stream was using that on 40 all round. Heavens, no, that was 6:30, 7 in the morning. Newfoundland, right into Middle Americas. We didn't get VK. I wasn't early enough. So that's a 7 meter pole. Then we got a 10 meter pole, and that basically does 40, or an inverted L, and you can get 80 on it as well. Then I do a 12 meter pole. There's no kit for that. I'm just about to develop that. That'll be a linear loaded or a coil driven 80 meter vertical on 12 meter. Beautiful, lovely. And then this crazy mad thing on an 18 meter pole with a lovely screw base on the bottom, where we put, well, up to 6 elements. But the idea was going to be sort of a mega low band thing for kind of 80, 60, 40, whatever. But as it turned out, it did every band anyway. Some of them are 3/4 waves, and you might think that a 3/4 wave antenna is no good, but at 5 degrees above the horizon, there's a lot of people coming and going here. At 5 degrees above the horizon, a 3/4 wave is still 2.5 to 3 dB better than a plain quarter wave. So there we are. Depending on the number of radials, you can actually equal it with the appropriate number of radials. Right, let's just have a pause. How do we get back to normal view? Remove spotlight. Oh, now what have we done? Why am I looking at Richard G4X? Gallery view. Oh, there we are. Right. Hopefully, we're all back to a square. Lots of different squares. Are you still with me? I haven't had any feedback or anything. Nobody's chipped in, coughed, hiccuped, or anything.
Because it's so interesting. That's why.
Let me have a drink and a smoke, and well, my vape. That's all. And Andy, did your camera go off?
No, I just put it off.
Fair dues. Then, oh, I can do that as well. Then I could do the whole thing. No, I'm joking. Of course I am. Okay. Well, how are you all? Everything all right? What's the time? 80. Okay, we've been going about half an hour, so that's longer than I thought. I was a fast 10 minutes. Was that fun? Did you learn anything? I don't know. You might all know all this stuff because you're all like, G4s and everything.
I think it was very informative. Thank you very much. I think that many of us don't actually consider the earthing, the ground wave, the wire for the ground is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think we think about the radiating element, but we don't always think of the ground.
Well, if you think of the ground, you think of the ground as the other half of a dipole. I think that will just about make it easier to understand.
Yes, Richard. In fact, I've got a short video coming out. I said to Rowley, okay, Rowley, what does a radial actually do? Right, now he's a pro, don't know if you know Rowley's channel. He's a New Zealand guy, he's a broadcast engineer. He'll do like 50 kilowatt stations. What I wanted to know is, if you grabbed hold of the end of the radial, would you feel it or anything? He said no. He's really annoyed that there's some people in the RSGB and whatever populating this idea that radials radiate and there's the EMF, you know, starts at the edge of the radials. That's not the case. Okay, EMF starts at the radiating element, which is the vertical. That's the end of it. And it doesn't matter how much power you use in the UK, you just need about 3.6 meters between you and the radiating element if you want to do full power 24/7. So anyway, okay, well that's that was a bit of fun. I do have a new philosophy though, is that I think this good debate, this one. Why is it? Well, I'll start again. We are schooled that one antenna should do both, aren't we? But the trouble is, in the modern day, both receive and transmit. In the modern day, I mean, I'm living on a housing estate here. Yeah, I've got a solar farm. Some Elon Musk fanatic lives behind me here with all his electric cars and his solar panels and everything else. Weak signals on 2 meters have gone now. All sorts, right? And we're just getting noise, more and more noise. And I really do think most radios these days, even the old radios, had the facility of either selecting a dedicated receive jack, or you've got a separate antenna jack, which you can say, oh, that's my receive antenna, you know, on one of the menus or something. And then you can put something like a loop on the ground. I mean, this is a £20 fix, where on your low, you know, certainly 80 and 40, you end up with this very relaxed sound. Not much of a signal strength, but the signal to noise ratio, you know, expands. You get that nice, oh, that's how I remember it. I can hear somebody talking in the background. Or the telly or something. So I'm definitely, because even at the farm, at 8:30 in the morning, somebody arrives, switches something on, and I get all this on 40 meters. So I'm hoping with a loop on the ground or dedicated receive antenna, that will sort of almost disappear. But for a transmit antenna, you can't blooming beat it. I tell you, it's fantastic. And I never knew for years. I tried vertical antennas, but I just felt they weren't right on receive. I never really tested them on transmit. It's a shame, because they get out. Put one of these up on and just run Whisper for 24 hours or something, and you'd be all over the world. Right. Okay, should we do topic 2 now, Andy? How are we doing? You happy so far? Is this a pleasant club night?
Yep. No,
because I can talk baloney. I promise you.
Oh, that's all right. Fill your boots. Just keep on going.
To clarify then on this one, I think I can highlight me again, can't I? Spotlight or something.
Yeah, that's it.
4 wavelengths. So the culmination of all this was 4 wavelengths of wire. If you manage to get, and I'm trying to talk and write at the same time, if you can find 4 wavelengths of wire, you'll be within 1.2 dB of roughly the optimum you'd ever be on anyway. If you can only do 2 wavelengths, you'll be about, cut up into lots of bits. You'll be about 1.2 dB under your 4 wavelengths, man. That's the culmination of that. Okay, we'll just have a bit of a free-for-all now. Andy and I discussed audio, really. I mean, okay. Let me just take a glug. Hang on. So, let's. Where's my mixing desk? Okay, there is. I'll share that in a minute. Now, an analog mixing desk, little 4-channel thing, with bass, treble, mid, gain, all that stuff. They're next to nothing these days, aren't they? Behringer. There's nothing wrong with Behringer, by the way. In the old days, they had a bit of a reputation, but I've run Behringer on live events, and it's never failed. And I've got a lot of Behringer kit. I've got some proper pro kit as well, but I've got lots of toys, bits and pieces that are all Behringer, microphone, headphone splitters, all sorts of stuff. You can run, in terms of audio, you can run a microphone like this. So this is a Sennheiser HMD 300 Pro, for instance. So this is sort of a cameraman's headset. It's very professional to wear. You can wear it all day long, unlike any other ham radio I've ever worn in my life, including the Pro 7. In fact, Bob, if you're watching this, Bob Heil, he did email me saying, oh, we need a Zoom call and I'll send you some free product. We need to fix your feelings about this, the Pro 7. But it's really heavy. It's a copy of the Clark mouldings. Clark is an aeronautical thing. I don't know how the airmen wear them, but maybe they get the real McCoy. I don't know. I'm not having a go at Bob Heil. He's, you know, he does it very well. I think his daughter Susan now runs the high heel world. But anyway, running a headset on a modern radio can be a little bit tough because, for instance, this has got quite a low output. This here, even lower. So that's the Electrovoice RE20. My God, it sounds incredible, but it's a dynamic microphone. It needs a bit of punch, so you need to wind it up. If you wanted more punch, there's that there. That's the RE27. But you're into the price of a blooming radio for these. However, and this is £300-400. Saying all that, sometimes we come across a really nice headset that we want to use, and it might not work with, you know, your ICOM or your Kenwood or whatever else. And well, what do you do? So it's not a circuit diagram, but a block diagram, right, would look a little bit like this. You've got it's a while since I've done my foundation exam, and I can't remember what a microphone looks like. I just can't remember. Was it? I don't know. We'll call that the mic, okay? I just can't remember. A microphone. And then we got the lead, and then we want to go to this little mixing desk, okay? And then you've normally got some options. You can come out what they call the mains, right? These are what would normally drive your amplifiers. So, I mean, you can come out the headphone socket. Sometimes they've got monitor or aux outs for driving, you know, monitor speakers for the drummer and the bass guitar and all that stuff, depending on the ferocity of this mixing desk. But whatever you do, eventually it comes out, and then you'll need a piece of kit before it ends up in your ham radio gear. I don't know, HR ham radio. The piece of kit, so like a Behringer XR 12, I happen to know, at more than about 120 watts. James came out, I think either monitor, or came out something, made up a lead, he went straight into his Kenwood, and it, you know, you've heard it before, haven't you? You get this RF on the audio chain. So that needs to be broken, and you break that with a transformer. Now, for £6 or £7 on Amazon, you can buy a line isolator, I think they call it, and they do actually work. I meant to bring home a top-of-the-range Golden Maxima. It's like £150. It's for the ESSB boys. It's all professional audio quality thing, right? I don't know why I bought it. Well, the guy lives in Oxford, and I just thought he needed a bit of support, so I thought I'd buy this thing, and then I could do a good video about it. And eventually I will, you see. So you just need to isolate from the mixer. So any RF that is on that line is just stripped off, and the audio then comes through on a transformer and goes straight into the thing, into the you know, the question mark bit. A line isolator. So that's quite good fun, and you can do that at all. Now you can also remote control your radio. So easy these days, for free. I know they all want to sell you stuff, but I proved it on my channel. I remote controlled my system and ran a pile up for free, right, with no gear at all. All I did was I used Chrome Remote Desktop or Team Viewer or Microsoft Remote Desktop, any of those toys, you can remote control your desktop. And whatever you can do with your mouse on your desktop, you can then do remotely. So if you've got a piece of software, Ham Radio Deluxe, or I don't know, well, Ken would have a piece of dedicated thing. You can press buttons, change bands, all that stuff around my logbook locally. And then, how do I get my audio from here, the bunker, to the rig at the other end? And that was the difficult bit. I'll block diagram that for you if you're interested. All right? If you're not interested, you can go away now. All right? Show's over, chaps and ladies. Let's put the picture this way. So, how do I do this? So I've got my microphone here. I cannot remember what a microphone looks like. It might be something like this, or is that a speaker? Anyway, what I did is I went through Discord. I created a new... So Discord is web service. You can download it and all that. I created a new server called Callum's VoIP. That's all. And I created 2 accounts, me and the factory, effectively. And we both joined there. And I made sure that my microphone was transmitting. If you can talk to someone on Discord, and I'm sure as an online club, some of you guys must be on Discord, whatever. It's not difficult to master. It's an hour, you know, go, oh, I got it now. So all I did at the other end, so I've got, this is me at the house, and then this is remote. And this is another Discord account. And Discord does, for free, 96 kilobits. Plenty wide enough for us. And when I'm on 80 meters and I can spare the bandwidth, I quite often go up to about 3K. Don't tell anybody. Just so I sound a bit fatter on the pile up, that's all. So I've got my headset here connected to Discord. I've got my headset here connected to Discord. When I speak here, it comes out the earphones effectively there, and when I speak here, it comes out the earphones there. And always it's a case of configuring what is the microphone, what is the earphone. Most modern radios now, of course, have got a USB. You plug your USB line in, not upper sideband, but the comms porty thing. You plug it into your PC, and your PC goes, oh, found TS990, whatever, and creates a sound card. So you can do your FT8 and all that stuff. So once you've found your sound card, all you need to do is to say, well, I want my headphones to be effectively the radio, and I want my microphone to be the radio, right? So when I hear anything, instead of sending it to my headphones, send it straight to the radio. Bottom line is. And I ran it all on Vox. So when I went test, the rig would key up, so test. Oh, so obviously I started off by listening and making sure I can twiddle the knobs and just get the listening experience going, and then it was just a case of setting up the Vox. So when I spoke, because I didn't have a remote push-to-talk switch, which means if you've got a rather nice station at the house and you go on holiday, little cottage somewhere, whatever, and it's got a bit of internet, you go, oh, get on the radio for an hour, you see. You can do. Join in your local net, do whatever you want. And then, of course, you can buy these little Wi-Fi enabled boxes. So if you wanted to reset your radio or reset the PC, I used to set mine to, regardless, just reboot at 4:30 or 5 o'clock every morning. Just reboot anyway. I ran a little script somewhere, and it would do that. It would also reboot at 5 o'clock in the evening as well. So every 12 hours, the thing just rebooted. I'm asleep at 5 o'clock in the afternoon anyway, normally, so that worked fine. So I'll show you what is the... You've heard this expression, digital mixer, yeah? So I'm going to hit a button here, and hopefully... what do I do? Down here. Share screen. I've just got to find it. That one there. Share. Hopefully you can now see.
We can see it.
Yeah. So I'm talking on. Can you see my mouse as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is. It says RE20, but it's not. It's the Sennheiser I've plugged into. So what I've got is I've got a physical. Oh, I'll just get used to stop sharing. It's a physical mixer, right? In it, you know, like that with all the plugs and sockets and everything else. There's just no desk. The desk is this bit. Oh, what am I sharing now? Oh, there it is. The desk is this bit. So you've got, this is the mixer, right? So, and I'm running, yeah, just for fun. I've got a noise gate running. This is on channel 1. It's telling me that it's coming in on the microphone, not USB. I'll come to that in a minute. Running a bit of a noise gate. A little bit of EQ, just because you don't want me too muddy like that. You would like me a little bit sharper, so I do that, particularly for Zoom stuff. We're running a little compressor as well, so I can't overshoot, can't get too loud, whatever that's me. So Andy, if you talk now.
Yep.
There we are. You've come in on this line.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and that's your line. And on this line, PC left and right, we're running no EQ. I've just rolled the bass off, actually. No noise gate. I don't need that. And but we're running a little compressor off you. Otherwise, I'd be too loud if I ever post-production. That's the only 2 channels I'm using at the moment. Now then. Let's hit the stop button. This was a bit of a learning curve for me, but if I just explain it to you, you'll go, oh, that's pretty easy then. What I am going to do is I'll show you what this looks like rather than moving the camera around. X18 images, and we'll share. In fact, I'll zoom that up. I'll now share that screen. So an X18, hopefully you can see this. It's just not this box here, but that box there. Oh, they've gone up in price. That's all it is. You can hopefully see that.
Yeah.
You've got 16 XLRs, then you've got 6 auxiliary outputs as well. So I've always thought you could run up to 6 radios on these, and I'll show you how in a minute. So that's all it looks like. It sits in the corner of the room, and then I get this software front end. It does a lot more than that, but anyway. However, the really cool thing, and I didn't know this for a while, when you plug it into your PC or computer, you end up with 4 sound cards just that magically appear in your your Windows thing, bottom right. You know, where's my, your volume adjuster. 4 sound cards. 1 2 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 7 8, and they're both left and right in, left and right out, left and right in, left and right out, left and right out. Which means, so for instance, you're coming in the mixer, but via USB at the moment. That's how I can hear you. So you come in on Zoom, I redirect it to anything from the PC goes to the USB line on number 5 or 4, whatever it is, on the USB. So you've got these 4 sound cards. It's quite incredible, actually. It means you can do really kinky tricks, because I want you to imagine the other problem, that I'm live streaming and trying to talk to my computer remotely to do a live stream remotely on a radio, right? So when I speak, the radio opens up because it hears it on Vox and goes and transmits. When I stop speaking, the radio stops transmitting, and then I can hear again, right? What you don't want to happen is it going around the loop. So as it comes back and hits my headphones, the mixer rebroadcasts it back to everybody, and then it opens back up again. So as a YouTuber, it's really handy because I don't, most of the time, I'm not actually using the mains. I do if I'm watching a film or something, because we've got this big kit in here. I'm using all the independent sound cards, so I can go, oh, well, I can just mute that one, I can do this, I can balance it in and out, I can whatever. So that's called the X Air 18. Now, that went down to about £200–300, and they've gone back up now, which is a little bit annoying, to be honest. Is that really the price? £385 is the best. When I bought it, it was like £999, right? So they have halved in price, in fairness. So, sound cards. But the 6 audio monitors, because if you've got a band of 6 guys at you, the drummer's going to want, I want to hear more of the bass guitar, I want to hear the keyboards. I'm not really interested in the singer. You can dial him down. And everybody can have their own mix, you see. Which means what you could do, you could have 3, 4, 5 different microphones. I'll use this one. I'll go on the TS990, or I'll use this one on the TS590, on TS2000, and you can run it off, each one off the monitor. So I'll do that again. Let you see what I mean. It was there, wasn't it? Share screen. I mean, I don't know if it's interesting for you guys, but it's a bit of fun, isn't it? Here we are. So you could, that augs there, it's just a balanced output, that would drive an amplifier or something. You take that, and that could plug straight into your 990, that could plug straight into something else. The only thing you would need is, if you just do, Amazon do a line isolator for £6, and you just need to build one of those and plug it into each of the radios. If you've got 3 or 4 radios and you do like to use them, but you would like to use just the one headset, you could just, program this thing and do what you want. It's a bit of an overkill, right? Let's face it, right? That's a bit of fun. I'm not here to teach you about that. I'm always here to inspire you, right? That's the difference. If you really want to go down that route, you will find a way of doing it. But it's the 18's one that's got the sound cards. So I'm recording this on the sound cards, on the USB line. I don't use, there's very few things physically connected. Well, my whole drum kit is, but the other stuff isn't connected. But we could risk it. Somewhere along here, I think, oh, there it is. It's all up there, and then somewhere down here, oh, there's the mixer down there, look. So there we are.
So, Cal, am I right in thinking that the noise gate, so the compression and all of that, that's all built into that digital software? You haven't got any separate racks anywhere?
No outboard.
No.
That's absolutely correct.
Wow.
So there's, in the old days, you would need, so go to this one here. You'd need a separate, wouldn't you? Separate gate.
Yeah.
You might have a graphic. Let's admit him. Yeah, and it works. It really does work.
Wow.
And then this is all your sends and everything for your monitor mix,
Mm-hmm.
And so I've told this one it's a stereo, because in the input this is, I think I've got, what have I done? I can't even remember how to drive this thing sometimes. But anyway, these are linked. That one's linked as well. Now that's my monitor when I'm live streaming. It's complicated. It took me a while to get this set up. You can have phantom power. This is so you're on this one, input. There we are. You're on a USB line.
Right.
And you're USB number 5.
Wow.
Not on a genuine, so I can hear you and I can record you, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still give you a noise gate, still give you some EQ, still put the compressor on. I've just got it on the standard vocal preset compressor, just to gives it a bit more bite, So there we are. Stop sharing. And that's the difference between, for the new factory, I was even looking at the 32, Not because I want 32 channels, it had even more flexibility, but I sometimes, particularly, it's half an hour before I'm supposed to live stream, and it's like the mix has crashed. I don't know, or whatever. And it's only happened once. I just reboot it and it all came back up. But I can get my knickers in the twist because there's so much, particularly on the, I know you can't see this. There's a matrix, an in-out matrix. I'm just looking at it now, where you can take every USB line and where you want to send it to. And I'm not a professional engineer, you see. I do the best I can, and I've wanted to always put. So part of my hobby is being able to put a show on. I know it sounds crazy, but just give this fun. Let's remove this spotlight. I can see everybody. View. Gallery. I just like to I put a show on, then I need the tech to be able to do the show, and then
is that a roadie, Cal?
A roadie?
So you need a roadie.
Well, sometimes, because the thing is, you probably can't. So I've got over this here is the little button. This is my little mixing desk of the Vision as well. So I've got that to do as well. And I haven't even finished designing that because I've got to, what I want to be able to do, instead of share screen sharing with you tonight, I'll just have another monitor. When I want to show you stuff, I just hit one of these buttons here, right? I just go, whatever, number 3, and you get it. Just be fed as an HDMI feed. So I've got up to 4 of those. So I was going to have camera 1, camera 2, and then my monitor, which I can just share just by pressing a button instead of all this share screen business, you see. Yeah. I mean, it's the other side of what happens this side of the fence, if you know what I mean.
It's really interesting, though.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, particularly when I'm live streaming, I've got to make sure I've got the right content in my head, right? Because there's nobody telling me what to do, but the cameras work, that the vision mixing work, that the audio is right. That then I've got engineering the stream, because I'm just looking over my shoulder sometimes. It's 2% drop frames. I'm thinking, what's the internet doing tonight? Because I've got no backup. So there's no content manager. There's nobody editing me. There's absolutely nothing. You have to, particularly if you're multi-camera and you're live streaming. That was the hilarious thing. I'm doing all that and controlling the farm when I did that as well. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I enjoyed it because I was so busy in the back of my head. People don't realise every time I look away, what am I checking? But there's all sorts of stuff I'm looking at. Normally, it's the amount of internet.
Can I just say, though, that one of the strengths, one of the many strengths that you have is the fact that it comes across as a genuine, bog standard, and I don't mean that in a nasty way, it's a proper chat, talk, show, whatever you're doing at the time. It's not one of the, I won't mention the people because I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about in the States, who have a very professional, slick looking, and it's, exactly what I mean.
They do very well. They do very well. That's the Americans.
They do. They do very well. But it's
big numbers.
It's what they do. But I think they lose.
It's not real.
No, exactly.
I'm not there with them.
No, I know you've never been there with them.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like when I'm doing a a genuine thing, with my bits of paper, and I'm trying to get over what a decibel is, whatever. I mean, obviously, I'll do a little bit of prep normally on the car on the way home. Go, okay, I know what take I'm going to take, and I record it here like I do now. But when I do that, I literally imagine I've got like you guys sitting there, you see. And we're doing it together, right? And I think after looking back at my very early ones, I was quite nervous, to be honest. You just grow into these. Somebody said the first 100 videos are the toughest, And I must admit, after you get to beyond about 500, you actually get, I think, quite good at it. And a bit blasé. You've got to re-evaluate yourself again. 500-600 videos, you go, hang on a minute, where am I going with this? because it's samey, you know. So then what you do is you start making them shorter. You start making them more appealing. And then there's the mistakes you can make, like, oh, I want to appeal to a wider audience. Then you end up in the YouTube algorithm world. And then you forget what you're trying to do in the bloody first place, which is just have a little club talk, you know, a couple of times a week, you know. So there we are. I mean, there must be somebody who hasn't seen me on YouTube, I'm sure. Just feel free to put your hand up. There we are, Chris, M3OZP. So this is the first time you've met me. Well, a very good day, Chris. Thank you. I was in a car park outside Costco the other day, and this man came up to me and went, "You're Callum." That's another amateur radio guy. Yeah. So there we are. I like YouTube because it's not Facebook, to be honest. I went off Facebook. I know you guys are on Facebook, but I went off Facebook a couple of years ago, and I actually felt that I got a life back. I know it sounds crazy, because I can't help it, but you get Facebook suck you in, don't they? Oh, you might know this person. You might know this person as well. And then you realise he's got completely different political views than you. And whatever, you know, I just used to get so wound up about it all. So my postcode's B93. And there's a group called B93, the place to be, right? I had to leave the place because all these Karens then. Oh, they're double parking again down at the garage. You know, I just, oh. I got to come off.
We have one in New Romney, and I promise you this is the absolute truth. 2 hours ago I left it for the same reason.
There we go. It just, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, I came off Facebook, and the rest of the family have basically as well. I think Wendy's stopped as well, although she secretly goes on now and again, I know. And I don't do Twitter. I do a bit of Instagram. I quite like Instagram because there's no chit chat. It's just pictures. It's like a comic, right? Instagram's quite nice. So as soon as you sort of declare your interest by following some ham radio channel, it recommends all the other ham radio channels. You just got pictures of amplifiers and stuff. Yeah, it's good fun. So I quite like Instagram. Although if I want a picture to go on Instagram, I just send it. I take it. Send it to Emily, and she does it for me because she's my Instagram manager, if you know what I mean.
So who does all your editing for you? What's the editing process for your YouTube videos then, Cal? So if somebody in the audience is sitting here now and they're interested in knocking up a few YouTube videos just to see how it goes, how would they get up and running? What would you suggest?
Well, I recommend they film it on one of these, but they don't hold the camera like that. You know, lock it off.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And in 3 or 4 takes, then put it into, let's say, Movie Maker, iMovie, whatever it is. There's some free stuff out there that normally comes. You know, you can download, and you can just chop it, make it short as you can. The key is getting the microphone quite close to you, right? Otherwise, you've got all that thing where everybody's winding the volume up because they can't hear you, and you can hear all the background noise and everything. Audio is really critical. Anyway, so what I did is I use this camera here, which is I've got a few of these. Whatever. How do I put this up and down? So this is a Canon 80D. Oh, here we are. It's you can just about see it.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Canon 80D.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a still camera, but I use them for video because you get a really nice. You can put a nice lens on it. Like the lens you're watching me on here, if I come quite close to here and everything's out of focus, you know, you get that nice depth of field and everything, which you don't get on a webcam or something like this, you know. So that's where I ended up with 3D 80Ds, a Canon 5D Mark III. Cameras coming at my ears. And then I got really interesting audio, that was a Christmas present, the RE20, which is an insane sound, beautiful sound. And then it's all on memory cards, of course, when I start the process, if I'm just recording. And I always record my screen as well, because weirdly enough, my the audio for the video, if it's a studio production, ends up on the same video as the monitor, because I use a USB line. So I normally record the monitor, even if I don't use it, because I just record it anyway. And then it's just a case of putting all the memory cards one at a time, sucking it all off. Then there's a kind of a best practice where you create a directory structure. I've got one set up, and I just copy it across every time. Put everything into my A roll, all the stuff I need, like screenshots, other graphics, anything else, I put into the B roll, and then put it all into this something called Adobe Premiere. I drag it all in, and it automatically then proxies all the footage. So what it does is, because it's all in, sometimes it can, particularly if it's come off a new phone, it might be very high resolution 4K, and I've got some other little cameras that are quite high resolution. And if you've got multiple stuff on a timeline, even though I've got the fastest machine I could afford, it can still be a bit jittery. So it renders it all down to about, I don't know, 720p or something, just for editing purposes. It makes copies of everything you see, and then I can edit it all, and then at the end I hit a button effectively, and it will. And I always render it these days to 4K, because particularly in the studio, you wouldn't notice if it was 4K or not, but I get a slightly better render on YouTube if I render it at 4K. So when you still watch it at like 1920 by 1080p, you'll get a better picture than you would have done if I'd rendered it at HD quality. Now, Premiere Pro has got some of the professional software has got really cool things. So if I do multi-camera, I can record all 3 cameras, 4 cameras, 5 cameras, whatever else, drag them all in, and I can say, make me a multi-cam sequence out of all this lot. And it goes away and it listens to the audio and it syncs it all up. Ka-dunk. And then I can drag the whole lot on the timeline, and I can just play it as if it's live, and I can select what camera I want as I'm going. So I might say things like, so let's head down to the paper now, and it will, and I can just press a button, it will be down here, you see, and then I can talk back to here, and then on the re-edit I can go back and just adjust it quarter of a second, well, frame by frame actually. Mm-hmm. But I always put a broadcast compressor on the audio. I always put, there's some stuff I do automatic, so you end up with the best experience you can. I mean, I think I'm quite good at it now from a technical angle. 750 videos or something. I can't remember how many some of them I've unpublished, but I've done a lot. I know, too many. Yeah. It says 745 uploads, but I've got 8 in the pot, because I'm having a YouTube break. I haven't done a YouTube video for nearly a month now. First time in 3-4 years. And there we are. Hopefully that satisfies your interest. I advise you though, if you do want to like take a pic, do a little video of you, upgrading your 9700 or whatever else, just find one of those little, you can get one of these with a little stand rather than holding it. Although they've got anti-vibration stuff now, haven't they? So you probably don't need to. And just check your audio, wind your audio up in post-production to as much as you can before it clips.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
there we are. How boring is that?
That's not boring at all. It's not boring at all.
I'm done here.
Well,
I don't know what to say.
I need to say thank you. That's for sure, because it was really interesting, Cal. It's very good, thanks. Oh. So you've had a YouTube holiday, as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And you're on YouTube. Well, you're not really. You're on. you're on Zoom. But I mean, it's great.
I can cope with Zoom.
Yeah.
I just felt, to be honest, I was burned out. And the definition of burnout, I never really realised this, was putting that much effort in but getting less reward back. Okay, now you can do that short term, months at a time. It's like a job, isn't it? I always say any job I've ever done, only 20% of it was actually good fun. The rest is just going to grind. But what I was discovering with YouTube is that I was putting more effort in, actually getting less reward out. My numbers started to go down. Everything went wrong. I hired a YouTube consultant who, to be frank with you, couldn't work out what the problem was. So, go and have a look at Tom Scott's videos. Well, yeah, I know Tom Scott. Now, if you watch Tom Scott, but he's got a different topic every week, right? I've got ham radio every blooming week. I can't do, some great dam in Wales and what the history was it or anything. I mean, I am ham radio because that's what I do. And that's what I like. So I thought I'd take a holiday, reflect, and see. I can't actually come up with anything different, to be honest.
Yeah, no fool.
I think the thing is, Cal, that the danger is when you have a job that's related to ham radio, and let's face it, over the last year, 18 months, DX Command has become more of a main, well, it is the main job now.
It's my only job.
Yeah. Whereas before, of course, you had the other job as well.
Yeah.
So the danger is if you don't take that sort of laid back approach, actually what's going to happen is your ham radio job makes the ham radio hobby less likely to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of friends who work at ICOM, and Chris Ridley, John Turner, you probably know them, and good friends, and their hobby is probably, I'll be careful how I say this, because let's use the word dented. Their hobby is dented by the work.
That's right. It's like the guy who loves cameras and goes and works in a camera shop. It's the same thing. I think I've been dented because, a lot of my videos, I might mention my product, and originally I only wanted to put out one video just to show you what the product was. And then I thought, actually, it's quite good fun. So I started doing all sorts of stuff. So I don't know what it is. 5% of my videos are kind of product orientated. The rest of it is about DBs, about radials, about anything. How to model, inspire people, just have fun in ham radio. So the good news is I can actually just have a YouTube channel and just inspire people and have fun and live stream and run pile-ups and contact people in the South Cook Islands or whatever else. But I think I was kind of half forced to leave the last little factory we were running. And then I said to Wendy tonight, we couldn't have actually coped in the old factory this year at all. We've been absolutely flat out. You just wouldn't believe the numbers that we do. My costs have risen quite dramatically, but I've managed to keep the price stable because of the numbers, if you know what I mean. But my accountant's, I know, is going to tell me your margins have gone down. But I don't mind that because we make a living and, whatever. And I've had so much to do with a new factory. We've just this weekend the conduit, the 4-inch pipe's gone into the antenna field. I've got 100 meters of EcoFlex 15 sitting in a box in the middle of the floor. I'm waiting for a 4-inch hole in the wall. I've bought the box. I've got to get hold of MAT M0 MAT because I need some fancy connectors. I need some lightning protection. This is just for the hobby bit now, I've got. I want this sort of environment at the factory with nice lighting and all my. I've bought all the acoustic tiles there. Haven't had time to put them up.
Is it better now you've turned the desk round? That's what I want.
Yes, it is. And then the internet shit down there. So we got the other major project, which is, and that's really interesting project, but it's actually critical for my live streaming, is putting 100 megabit line 6 miles from the house to the factory. A fellow called Steve Nelson sent me hundreds of pounds. Just the dish themselves are 300, 400 pounds each. 2 31 dB, 5 gig ubiquity dishes with Rocket 5 radios. Set them up. so we can get, technically, I don't know, 300 megabit or something, megabits per second. I've got 350, 360 megabit download here to the house and 36 up. I don't need that, but I do need a good, reliable, certainly 5 up, so I can live stream heavy, nice, you know, low compression, good quality into YouTube or wherever else. So to be able to have proper internet at the farm would be really good. So it's just so much to do, really, still. And here we are in July, August. I've got 8 to 10 weeks, and then it'll be a year. And then if I haven't completed the project, I'm gonna be dull as a blooming brush, to be honest.
Can I say though, Cal, that I'm really grateful that you kept us all in the loop on the I can't remember what package we used.
The Gofundme thing.
Yeah. And it was really lovely of you to keep us in the loop. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I felt the contract we had between ourselves, I needed some sort of weekly update. So that's why I was very keen to do that. Now, there hasn't been much of an update. I have actually got a little mezzanine floor. There's a few things we'll do, which will be probably the final. I'll make one video, which is the final bit of the jigsaw coming together. And that'll be the last ever update on the GoFundMe site. Because you may not know, but Wendy and I reckoned we were going to be suffering a bit of a cash flow issue January, February time. And so we put out a call if anybody would like to donate a tenner, basically. And 3 days later, we had, I think, it was £15,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 15,000 plus.
And I closed it off then. I said no more. And because we just didn't need any more, if you know what I mean. And so we haven't spent all that, but I've got, once the project's complete, I want to put an SDR or a couple of SDRs in the Midlands, all right, on different, very, very quiet areas for people for free, you know, just to log in and do some, a bit like Hat Green SDR, if you know what I mean. But I think it'll be 4 at a time if we use the Kiwi SDR one. But there's a guy 900 meters away from me who's a friend of mine. So I'm going to give him some internet on the basis that I can put up a nice, maybe a Delta loop or something. Something nice at his end with a Kiwi SDR and some internet and whatever else. But I mean, that'll be going. So yeah, I definitely felt that I had a contract to all the 10s and 20s and 200s even, that they should have a weekly update, or certainly fortnightly. I just felt that was good and proper, if you know what I mean.
Well, it was much appreciated, I'm sure. I certainly enjoyed reading it. And also, I think it's that coupled with the YouTube updates and your son welding the bits and bobs and put the lights up and everything. I mean, you know, people that haven't watched those videos, they might think we're talking something about mundane, but actually it was absolutely fascinating. And it gave us all a good idea of how hard it is to put those antenna kits together. It's not a question of a 2 minutes, put in a box and chuck off, and the boxes themselves are heavy duty and well wrapped. So, you know, I think it was good to see those behind the scenes videos. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, we can shipping the stuff out the door is, and as I proved to my cost on Thursday, Lockie's off sick. And I thought, oh, the old man, I can do this. So I did nearly 20 kits last Wednesday. They were picked up Thursday. And on every kit, I forgot to send a component that size out. A little bit of plastic. So it took me till 12 o'clock this afternoon, you know, noon today, to fix it. Luckily, I found a guy in the US. 80% of our customers, by the way, are US. Right. I found a guy in the US who would say, just send me all to me and I'll sort it for you, Callum. So that was really nice of him. It was a customer, you know. But yeah, I mean, accuracy is the key. So if you deal with, particularly with a kit where you have literally hundreds of components, You know, there's 17 wing nuts and 17 this and 17 that. Wendy bags these little, all the, you know, the paracord, the shot cord, and this, that, and the other. Lockie does all the plates. I still tap out all the aluminium. He wraps the poles, and we've all got checklists now. And I didn't use the blooming checklist. The one thing I said everybody must use, and I didn't use it, and I made a mistake. So there we are. But the antenna I really like, and I'm still using it now, is the Rapide. This 7-meter pole. It's the baby. It's fantastic. Okay, it doesn't do 80, but it's absolutely lovely. So, but I've put some hooks on the side of the antenna field now, so I can have pre-built. You know, that's the Rapide. I'll take it off, and I'll just put it on these big hooks. I can put then a 10-meter classic up and put that down. The next big one is this 12-meter. It's actually 12.6 meters long. It's not a spider beam 12-meter pole. It's about 20% heavier. Slightly, I guess, the wall thickness. It's hardly measurable, but it is. I know it's 20% heavier. I've got one. And it's going to be really hilarious. We're going to have, somehow, I'm going to leave at 80 as a vertical on this. And as is all my antennas, I live stream. I don't, you know, it is live. I can't edit it. It's for real. It either works or it doesn't. And I do that a couple of times just to show people that if this was your station, this was what would be happening, you know. Like all, oh, there's Mike, KD2SXD. My goodness, he looks a geezer. Hello, sir. And, because actually, talking of Mike, KD2SXD, that's the USA, isn't it, Mike? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. So, like 40 meters in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning is you know, it's doable into the US, as it is about midnight as well on 40. I love 40 meters because it's a little bit more difficult. And but is it? Sometimes it's just time in the chair, isn't it? Sometimes it's just a case of getting on with it. Guys, I don't want to waffle tonight. Okay, it's been good fun. We've had a lot of fun. Covered a lot of stuff. Just been a nice club night, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, thanks very much, Cal. It's been great. Yeah.
Oh, somebody said what happened to the Nebula. The Nebula's still up and fine. We sell about 3 a month. I've got another 50 18-meter poles coming in. We've got about 54 in stock right now. The Nebula's going fine. That is a full-blown quarter wave on 80. Plus you get 60, 40, 30 and all the other bands. Sorry, John, I just saw that on the chat there.
Callum, this YouTube thing you do you get anything back from YouTube for putting them up there, or was it all free, so to speak?
I earn, at the 750 videos, I'm up to about £350 to £400 a month, depending on how much ads I put on them.
All right. So how many people? I don't know if it's based on views.
It's based on the number of views. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the lifespan of a video is literally less than a week, by the way. I mean, the real lifespan. So if I put a video out on a Friday night, by Tuesday, Wednesday, it's dying. Right? It'll never be offered to you again. So getting the thumbnail right and the title right and that first 30 seconds right is really important, which actually ruins the fun of making the videos, because you're then into, I've got this great content and nobody wants to watch it because I didn't have time to make the right thumbnail. Crazy, right? It's the truth. But if a good video and the first week will earn me 13 to 15 pounds.
Wow.
Enough to buy a memory card.
So you've got to have several million views then to make it worthwhile.
I do about 125 to 150,000 views. And when my wife, there's Wendy, she's going, hey, we're supposed to be watching the telly. I had an appointment with her 10 minutes ago. And
you should have said.
Yeah, that's all right. It is pennies. All right, you've got to be into really, really, really big numbers to make. You know, I used to think, oh, we'll get up to 1,000 a month at this rate. But it's actually died off a bit, because I actually backed off on the ads because people started complaining, and I thought it was more important that I got the message out than earn another 200 quid.
Yeah, interesting, because I thought you had to be up in the sort of hundreds of thousands to start even getting any revenue off of it.
Yeah, It's
Anyway,
about $3.50 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not bad, is it? I mean, it's very, very good, and it covers some of your costs. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Callum,
Yes,
I'm
John.
very conscious of the fact I don't want Wendy to get cross with you.
She can't hear you, don't worry.
No, it's because she's got the headphones on. But I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic. It really has genuinely been really interesting. Very grateful. And thank you for helping us, because we're trying to promote and encourage and inspire people who, as I said earlier, is returning or new, etc.
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
what you've done tonight has been fantastic, and we are truly very grateful. So thanks very much.
Well, bless you all, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much.
I've got one more question to ask you.
Go on, mate.
You're working on this aerial farm, where you are now, and it looks like you've got a lot of cabling to put in, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Are you planning to have small groups come up and visit and see what your operation's like? Have
Absolutely.
you given that any thought?
I want regular open days. Absolutely, Andy.
Yeah, like for us to actually, you know, hire a minibus or something and several of us to come up and spend the day operating and have a bit of hands-on with some of your...
I was actually, for the nervous guys, I was going to offer one-to-ones as well for people who just, you know, really wanted a kickstart. But do it. Get a bus, come and see me. Let's just wait for the COVID thing to finish and then wait to get my cables in and we'll do it.
Yeah, lovely.
But I'm going to go now.
Yeah,
you take care, Callum.
Thank you very much. It's been a brilliant evening. Yeah. Really appreciate you.
See you guys.
Take care.
Absolutely
Cheers,
wonderful.
Callum.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Callum.
Bye-bye, fellas.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm going to vacate as well, boys. So I'm going to